Welcome to the Debt-Free Discovery. This is Michael Sokolic Jr., MSJR, financial coach, where we learn that all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Debt is dumb. Let's learn how to crush it, stay out of it, and never go back into it. We're going to learn how to give generously beyond your wildest imagination. These are all biblical principles that have stood up to the test of time. Get ready. This is the start of the Debt-Free Discovery.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Michael here with MSJR Financial Coach, and I've got some great news on how to get out of debt. And that great news is actually step number 2. So if you don't know step number 1, make sure to use the link in the description of this video or the link in the description of this podcast that you may be listening to. Go check out step number 1. But if you're ready for step number 2, this is where you want to be. Step number 2 is to start paying yourself. So step number 1 is to stop going in debt if you're trying to get out of debt. Step number 2 is to start saving money for yourself. Well, why would we want to save money for ourselves if we're trying to get out of debt? Don't you want to use everything that you got to pay off the people that you owe? It sounds like a great concept, but you see, there's a small problem when it comes to that. The small problem that comes with that is, what if you have an emergency? Now you got no money, right? Well, what I recommend is to save an emergency fund of at least $1,000. Now, there's a lot of people across the country or in your region or wherever who might jump down your throat a little bit and say $1,000 is not enough. Well, you see here, $1,000 is something. That's what it really is, because no one can ever tell you how much enough really is. The thing about it is that 40% of Americans cannot afford a $400 emergency. The purpose of saving a minimum of $1,000 for an emergency is to create a good behavior and to establish yourself with, okay, if I've got an emergency under $1,000, I can pay cash for it, not a problem. If I have an emergency over $1,000, well, okay, we got some thinking to do. But again, that's where personal financial coaching comes into play, and that's where you can personalize your minimum emergency fund. But honestly, I'm really never going to recommend anything over $1,000. It's a great place to get started. So then you jump into paying off the debt. But I don't want to get quite into that because all of this goes together. I want to tell you some reasons why you pay yourself first, okay, before paying off that debt. One reason was, again, an emergency. 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. That's why we want to do this. One of the other reasons that we want to pay ourselves first is 78% of America, okay, is living paycheck to paycheck. Also, 80% of Americans are in debt. And 60% of Americans making over $100,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Those are the reasons why we are talking about you got to save first. Okay? These are the reasons that we want to save for ourselves first. Other reasons why we want to save first is Proverbs chapter 21 verse 20 says, "In the house of the wise are choice foods of oil and food." Is that right? Let's try that again. In Proverbs 21:20 it says, "In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and olive oil," or whatever your translation may read. In the house of the wise, there's food to eat and things used to prepare food so that you can eat. What does that mean? That just simply means that wise people manage what they have. They save for those times of famine or emergencies or whatever it may be. Now, to finish off that verse, it says, "But a fool devours all he has." Okay? If you don't have savings and you're devouring all that you have, and you're using debt to devour all that you have, or you're using cash and still devouring all that you have, you're foolish. Be a wise man or a wise woman. You need to save first. So again, we want to save before we start paying off our debts, at least $1,000. then we can start chunking money, right, at all this debt. Now, step 3 through 7, we're going to go into all that. So make sure you stay tuned to this channel, whether it's on YouTube or on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And we are now on TikTok. Don't forget to follow us there, MSJR Financial Coach. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and also on Facebook. Like this video and subscribe to this channel. We look forward to serving you. If you want personal financial coaching, no matter where you are in the country, I can give free consultations thanks to the blessing of technology. We can also take digital payment as well, such as Zelle and Venmo. If you live in the Grand Strand area of South Carolina, we can meet personally and sit down and get you a free consultation there too. And we can always set up a great plan to get you and your family financially free. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Debt Free Discovery. My name is Michael Sokolik Jr. We'll see you around the block.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Debt Free Discovery. Don't forget that diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in slave labor. We hope that you learned something today that you can take with you for the rest of your life. Remember, debt is dumb. Don't forget to crush it, stay out, and never go back in. Also, give generously. It's not yours to keep. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Debt Free Discovery.